Title, Genesis 6, 1-12, chapters 5-9, but Noah. Content 6, 1-12, chapters 5-9, however, know a few of us are unaware of the story of Noah and the flood. Two important terms are used for the first time in the article about Noah. It is grace and covenant. 1. Judgment and grace, 6:8, 1, God's judgment, verses 1-7, 11-12, Genesis 6 describes the culmination of man's sin. Through the marriage of the Son of God, 5:2, and the daughters of men, the Sethites themselves were assimilated into the wickedness of the Cainites. God's response to this was judgment, 3. At the end of that period, he reached a state of extreme sin, 5-6. Eventually, God declared the judgment of the flood, 7. God's judgment that continues after the expulsion of Eden foreshadows the final judgment. 2. But Noah found favor with the Lord, verse 8. Noah received the favor of God. As a result, he was righteous, blameless, and walked with God, 9. He obeyed God's word by faith, 6, 22, 7, 5, Hebrews 11, 7. Noah's impartial is the result of grace, not the cause of grace. When Noah talked about how to get out of the flood, God said, "But I will make my covenant with you, and you will go into the ark," 6:18. This is the first mention of a covenant in the Bible. It is the saving covenant of grace that will save Noah and his family from judgment. They were saved from the judgment of the flood according to the covenant of grace. 2. Sin and covenant, 8:20-9, 17, after the flood, God made a covenant with Noah, the world. It is not a covenant of salvation from sin and judgment. It is simply the covenant that preserves the creation. This is common grace. 2. In 9, 1-7, regulations that are established to make this plan to endure judgment possible and to make it safe are presented. It is about the reproduction and protection of life and the maintenance of life. 3. Verses 9, 8-17 give the covenant form by adding a rainbow sign to the promise. The rainbow does not remind man of a promise, but God remembers His covenant. We all, believers and unbelievers alike, are under common curse, Genesis 3, and at the same time under common grace, Noah's covenant.